Okay, to end our session, we're going to focus on real life stories of people who did find their happy ever after through online dating. And we'll discuss what we think was the main reason their stories worked out so well, so we can clarify the things that you can use to find your happy ending. But first, we've got our third and final survey question. We've actually asked this one before and it got a really good response, so we thought we'd run it by you again.
See if it's changed.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know a couple who met through online dating? Simple yes or no. Do you know a couple who met through online dating? I do, Kate.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Do you?
Now, I chatted recently to two sets of friends who met online. They've got fabulous success stories. Okay, first up, it's Jeff and Lorelei. They're such a lovely couple. They've been together for 3 years and they were really attracted to each other initially because of their profiles. Jeff immediately identified with Lorelei because, in his own words, she was the manager of a huge bookstore. And he said, I am a bookstore nerd, a book nerd, okay, totally. I love literature and reading, so I really felt that we'd have a connection. And Lorelei also put that she loves cats and Jeff is completely cat mad. Lorelei had kept her profile brief, but she immediately warmed to Jeff because he was different. He poured his heart out in his profile. He maxed everything out, she told me. He used every single character that he could, and he put the maximum number of photographs, which was 10. Jeff added that he said, I'm a very earnest person, and it was the most earnest profile. I poured everything out about me. There was no mystery, so you could either love it or leave it. And that's probably, he figured, why he hadn't had much success before. He was a bit too earnest. Lorelei, though, she was the one. She loved it. She found it really endearing. She said Jeff sounded honest and real and authentic, very important words. We're all searching for that. And she also thought he'd got the kindest eyes and the kindest face that she'd ever seen.
What I love about this story, because Judy told me this like before we were getting ready for this, I absolutely love it. You know what we were talking about keeping going despite the rejection and all that kind of thing. It's just imagine, like, so Jeff had written this profile that really poured his heart out and he wasn't getting that many responses. If he'd given up, or if he'd listened to that voice in the head that said, Jeff, forget it, it's just you and books from now on, it's just not going to work out, he would have given up and he wouldn't have met Lorelei. That's a really good indication, example of why you should never give up on your dating journey. But also, men, please learn from this. Write the long profiles. Women love reading the long profiles, and the more of your earnest nature and your honesty, and the more just words that you write, we will see that we will believe that we can trust you.
Yeah, he bakes. I mean, and he put that he loves cooking red velvet cake. You know, a lot of women thought, Lorelei loves red velvet cake. He also actually said something really interesting. He thought a lot about the question he was going to ask her. You know, he really put some time into it. And he asked her, quite simply though, what book she was reading. Now, in 20 years as a bookstore manager, nobody had ever asked her that. Nobody had even in her life bought her a book. So when she heard that question, she thought, this is the man of my dreams. And he knew that he'd have, you know, he thought of his question in response as well. He didn't actually know the book she was reading, but he Googled it, proving he cared, put some effort in. And the irony was that the book was about a place he'd driven through a week before. So another connection, which is fantastic.
Destiny.
The other couple I talked to were Julia and Matt. They are so lovely. They met online. They've been together 19 years and they've got 2 beautiful daughters. Julia found Matt's profile hilariously funny. He's a really funny guy. She'd been advised by a girlfriend who was already on this particular dating site that people look at photos more than your profile, so she should keep her profile really short. She wrote 9 words, okay? She put she was looking for someone interesting and interested, warm and funny, that's all. Matt responded with a joke about each of the words. So, for instance, with the word interesting, he kept coming up with all kinds of interesting facts. Julia joined in the banter with interesting facts of her own. So they were connecting things like, you're more likely to drown in the bath than win the lottery. Statistically true. And this set the tone for their relationship. Their shared sense of humour is as strong now as it always was. So that was their common ground.
I love it. That's kind of made me look at baths and lottery tickets in a different way. Yeah. So again, like I've been saying, so women, remember, you don't need to agonize too much about what you write in a profile when you're trying to attract men. It's 90% about the photos in that case. And when I wrote my own dating profile second time around, I wrote 3 sentences, like really short. It's all about the pictures.
Yeah. Julia's got a very helpful tip I must share with you, okay, about photos. She's really, really pretty. She posted up a picture of herself smiling, which she thought was a great picture, but she had her arms crossed in front of her chest. She was wearing a cardi. She never wears cardis, and it was a really old cardi. And worst of all, she was in front of a filing cabinet in her office. Not sexy. She got really few responses. She asked her friend why she thought she was getting so little, attracting so few people. And the friend said, to cut to the chase, your photo's really frumpy. Give me some photos, I'll help you choose one. She chose one of Julia wearing a really pretty halter neck dress, bare shoulders. Julia had a tan, nice short dress. She was wearing high heels. Guess how many responses she got overnight with that photo? Guess.
10.
750. And what it did for her was it said it gave her a really amazing attitude towards dating, because she felt free to go on dates. And she thought, if it doesn't work out, I've got another 749 tries. Win-win.
That's the power of a tan for me. That's more fake tan, I reckon.
Listen, I want to know how you met your husband.
So, a tale of 2 husbands. I've met both my husbands doing online dating. I met my first husband when I was in my 20s. I was single and living in London, and we had a lovely marriage for a while, but ultimately we weren't right for each other, so we grew apart. So in my 40s, I went back to online dating, and I did things very different, and I met my second husband, who I must admit is my perfect match. We're like solid gold, we're like really made for each other. So this is what I think made the difference. Now, with husband number 1, I didn't put a photo of myself on my profile. The reason was it was the 90s, and it was such a faff to upload a photo then, because you couldn't just scan it in. You had to post it. And I thought, you know me, I'm thrifty. I didn't want to spend the money on the stamp. So I didn't bother. I thought I can paint a picture of me just through words alone. So I wrote like a sort of long, funny, broke every rule profile. And no one wrote to me because I didn't have a photo. But my first husband, he did put a photo on his profile. It was a lovely picture.
Was it?
Oh, men, if you just had a photo like this photo, you should use it.
What
honestly,
was he like?
Oh God, he was really handsome anyway. He had a goatee beard and he was slim and everything. And it was a black and white picture, which just worked so well for men.
I love black and white
pictures. And it was him sitting in a forest. So it was just kind of leaning on like a wood stump like that, just looking so brooding. And it was just like, it was the sexiest thing like ever. It turned out actually that was a photo of him with a girlfriend, but he managed to crop her out perfectly. So I had no idea. The thing about that, because I've been the one who saw his picture and was really drawn to him, it kind of created that dynamic right at the beginning where I was really drawn to him physically, and he didn't feel the same way about me. And I'm not sure if any relationship can really overcome that. I think that physical attraction should be there at the beginning, which is why I would urge you to use photos. So for second time around, for husband number 2, I put photos up, and I put the very clear, colourful, I had like a blue background, and it was a colour one so you could see all my red hair, smiley picture looking into the camera. But then I also put a mix of other slightly more everyday ones. And there was one picture that I wasn't sure if I should put on there or not. It was me. I was wearing, I don't like my arms because I never go to the gym and they're not very toned. So it was me in a t-shirt, and I was thinking, oh, my arms. But me in a t-shirt and jeans, just sitting there. I had a cup of coffee. A friend had taken it of me. It was just me, not very much makeup on, just laughing in the garden. And I thought, well, it's quite every day. Yeah. I'll just put it on and see what happens. And it turns out that was the photo that he really liked. Forget the kind of glamorous professional headshot. It was the one of me with no makeup on, laughing in the garden. And he still hasn't noticed my arm. So I would always put photos up so you can get that attraction straight away, because we're still talking about attraction, people being attracted to each other. So husband number 1, because I accidentally created this dynamic where I was so into him.
You were doing all the running.
I did all the running. I ran so much like my feet caught fire. It wasn't really so, but it was like that the whole relationship. So when it came to meeting up, I was the one who had to suggest a date. And what I find is when you're the one suggesting the date, then you kind of have to tailor it to the other person, or you have to make it a place that's convenient for them. So I suddenly found myself traipsing all across London to meet a man who wasn't that interested because he still didn't know what I looked like. It was wrong. And then but of course I was running across London because it was sexy forest man and I thought he was gorgeous. But that dynamic, again, it just never went away. So our whole relationship, it was just, I was in control. Now, ladies, if you like the idea, I'm being really old fashioned, because it's what worked for me second time around. But if you are someone who likes the idea of choosing and pursuing and being in control of a relationship, that's absolutely fine. But I think it helps to understand that in any relationship, you'll have a masculine energy and a feminine energy. And you really have to decide which one you're comfortable being, because you can't then swap between the two. So if you want to pursue someone, to choose to be in that position, that makes you the masculine energy, which is fine, but then understand that will probably go the whole relationship. So what turned out me, I'd started like the man chasing, but then later on I was like, oh, I just want to be cherished, and it didn't work out. So second time around, of course, I was never going to ask anyone out, because I thought, no, I want to be pursued. I want to do this old fashioned. I want to be cherished. I'm not going to ask anyone out. So I never suggested, when I was writing to husband number 2, I never suggested that we met up. And in fact, the longer it went on, because I had that rule about the 8 emails between us, but it got to 10, and he so I just started writing less and less, just sort of briefer. I was start leaving longer gaps, so he wasn't getting like a fix of me just by the messaging. You know, he kind of thought, maybe we should meet in person.
Because he maybe thought you were losing interest a little.
You kind of have to pull back a little bit if they're not asking you out. It's just a really nice way of start to kind of give them less attention than they usually step up, or they fade away if they're not interested. But remember, that's just redirection. If they fade away, that's good. So what actually happened was I was answering lessons, and then he finally asked me out. But by that point, I'd gone on with the arms. I'd gone on a diet to try and sort the arm situation out. And it was like it was a 2-week intensive crash diet. And he was really handsome, so I thought I need to see him like looking really nice. So I was so arrogant looking back. He said, "Can I meet you?" And I said, "I would absolutely love to meet you, but I can't meet you for 2 weeks." Didn't say I was on a diet. Just said I'm really busy for 2 weeks. And I gave him a ticket number like we were in a deli, like your ticket number
or
is
IKEA.
881. Yeah.
Other shops are available.
I gave him a ticket number. It was just kind of like cheeky and fun. So I don't know, that kind of cheeky fun challenge. It just worked. It worked.
And
really
he liked
well.
that.
He loved it.
Oh.
It turned out he was so excited then about finally meeting me that we actually met on the day of the World Cup final, the England-Germany one. And Pete is like so into football, but he was so overcome with finally meeting this deli ticket number woman that he forgot, and he actually asked me out for 3 o'clock on that Sunday.
Kick-off.
Yeah, and I said, sorry, I can't make it. I'm not trying to make out that being like really arrogant. It was just that fun playfulness and not doing all the running is what I really like in our relationship now. And in our relationship now, he looks after me like emotionally. He makes sure that I feel all right. And I didn't have that first time around, and it was important to me. And I think that comes from the beginning.
Good.
Oh, and the first husband, because I was nuts about him, really handsome Forrest, went exclusive with him straight away. Second time around, I knew that was a mistake, because I think I've spoken about on these videos before about how I have anxious attachment. So I like really attach when I like someone. And that I noticed the first time around with exclusive that I was living my life around him. So second time round, I played the field and kept going on other dates until he asked me to be exclusive. But because he was like the sort of person who takes 10 emails to ask me out, that was actually 2 months. So for 2 months, I was still going on other dates, which kind of kept my feet on the ground. It was slower, gentle, it was good.
You changed the whole dynamic, didn't
Just
you?
upside down.
You actually really just learned. You thought, what are the lessons I've learned?
Yeah.
And why? Because I think that one of the great things about getting older and dating is that you actually do know
what works for you.
Works for you. You know what you're looking for in somebody else and what you need, what you're, you know, what your values are and what you need. So
I wanted old-fashioned.
no, there's nothing wrong with that. Wow. Oh, not at all. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Right, we're now going to finish with some more of the questions that we've had sent in. Ray61 says, hi, I'm new to online dating, so I've got no idea what to say. Please help. I've got a lot to offer in romance and companionship, but I just can't make the first move.
So Ray, I don't want you to worry too much about the contents of that first message, because it's not necessarily the contents of your message that's going to get a reply or not. So you have to remember the job that first message does. So when someone receives your first message, what they're going to do is think, I've got a message from Ray, I'm going to look at Ray's profile. So it suggests to me there's something about your profile that just needs to be polished up a little bit. It might be that it probably is that your photos aren't working as hard for you as they can. So I want you to look again at your profile photos and just check you haven't made any mistakes, like having the little holiday picture where you're a tiny pixel in front of like the pyramids or somewhere exotic. That's kind of good for an icebreaker picture, but we need to see your face. So I'd probably get one of your friends, your nice female friends, just to go through your profile and make sure that it's selling you in the right way, and also maybe write more words. It could be that you're coming over as a bit brief and disinterested. When all that's done, then start looking at the messages you're sending. They can be very short, but I think we've learned tonight like the power of a question.
Yeah.
So ask them if they mention books. I mean, was it Jeff's line? Just ask them. Yeah, ask them what book worked for Jeff. Ask them what book they're reading at the moment, or if they like live music, what concert do you wish that you could have gone to? Like for me, I would have loved to have gone to Woodstock.
So that's a brilliant question. Yeah, absolutely.
Like that.
Thank you for that. Christina is 68. She says, I'm scared to post a picture of myself because I don't feel attractive. I'm scared if nobody likes me, how it will make me feel. Oh.
Christina, it won't make you feel any worse than you actually do now. Please, honestly, I went through this. Remember, with the fat arms and the red hair, because the awful thing about knowing so much about dating is I know what's successful and not. And red hair, I read, is the least popular hair colour online.
No.
So second time round, when I was 40, a single mum, huge arms, red hair, I thought this just isn't going to work for me. But I tried it anyway. And that is what I really want you to do. So I want you to go back, do all the things that we did about imposter syndrome, and just take those tiny baby steps towards it. And remember, if someone isn't attracted to your profile, you're not going to know, because they're not going to write to you and say, Christina, I'm sorry, you're not my type. They're just not going to contact you. So instead of worrying about who isn't interested in you, for you, I really want you to look at the people that are writing to you. So really, really look at them, like appreciate them. And then that will start boosting your confidence more and more and more. And then you will find that naturally you do things that make you feel really good. You'll buy a new top because your mood will be lifted. You'll start feeling really good about yourself. Don't dye your hair red. It does not work online. But you'll find that the love will grow, the self-love will grow. So do everything you can to banish the imposter syndrome. It's just imposter syndrome, I promise.
Okay, fantastic. Now it's time actually for the results of our third and final survey question, which was, do you know a couple who met through online dating? And the results are 53% of you said, yes, you do. And 47% said, no, they don't. Interesting.
You all do, because I did.
You did, exactly.
And Jeff and Lorelei.
And Jeff and Lorelei and Julia and Matt and loads of people. Big success stories. I'll put my new teeth in a minute. Kate, your final thoughts and summing up, please.
So for this, I think the message here is that online dating works. So even if you write the long profiles or the short 3-sentence profiles, there's someone out there that will be attracted to you. Don't be afraid to get an input on your profile from a friend. Let them help you choose your photos and give you an outsider's view. And never stay in a relationship where you're the only person putting all the effort in.
Fantastic. Right, well, I am afraid that that's all we've got time for this session. We really hope you found it helpful and valuable. And thank you so much for joining us and for all your questions and your feedback. Most of all, though, as well, I should say, thank you to the fabulous Our Time team, headed up by the lovely Maylis Mershin And thank you, Kate.
Oh, thank you, Julie. Thank you so much for joining us today and taking that first baby step into building your confidence and reaching your happy ever after. I've loved being here with you. And if you need any more help or anything, if I can help with anything, just come to me on my website, lovekatetaylor.com, and we'll see you again soon.
Hope so.
Bye.